Michael Harris was ordered by the HOA president, Ellen Wilson, to remove his own family's gate, a demand that felt like an unjust attack on his home and freedom. Ellen, relentless and power-driven, pushed her authority without regard for the neighbors' wishes or Michael's safety concerns. But Michael had a clever plan. He locked the gate and sold the only key to Ellen herself, turning the tables in a way no one expected. Just wait until you hear how this bold move sparked a fierce battle and why justice ultimately prevailed in the end. Michael Harris had always taken great pride in his home. Nestled on the quiet outskirts of a small but well-kept suburban neighborhood in California, his house was more than just a place to live. It was his sanctuary, a symbol of hard work and family. The centerpiece of his property was the old wrought iron gate he had inherited from the previous owner, lovingly restored to its former glory. Its intricate design perfectly complemented the classic architecture of the house, and it provided a sense of security and privacy that Michael valued deeply, especially for his wife and young children. Everything seemed perfect until the day Michael found a letter slipped under his front door. It was from Ellen Wilson, the president of the Homeowners Association. Ellen was known around the neighborhood as a strict, no-nonsense woman with a steely gaze and an unshakable resolve. She ran the HOA like a strict disciplinarian, enforcing rules with little room for compromise. The letter was blunt. Michael was ordered to remove his gate. According to Ellen, the gate violated the HOA's rules because it disrupted the visual harmony of the community. And, more importantly, it posed a potential hazard to emergency responders. The message was clear. If Michael didn't comply, he would face fines and possible legal action. Michael's initial reaction was disbelief. How could they demand he remove something that was part of his home, something that kept his family safe? The gate wasn't just a decoration, it was his property, his right. This felt like an invasion, a violation of his freedom and his hard-earned peace. The more Michael thought about it, the more his anger grew. Ellen's justification seemed flimsy, a convenient excuse for her to exert control over the neighborhood. He knew many neighbors loved his gate. Some had even complimented its beauty and charm. Yet Ellen ignored their voices completely. To Michael, it was clear. This was not about rules or safety. It was about power, control, and a disregard for individual rights. A fiery storm of frustration and outrage built inside him. This was more than a simple disagreement. It was a personal affront. The idea that an elected official could so casually demand the removal of something so important to his family felt unfair, even unjust. Michael clenched his fists, his mind racing with questions. Why was Ellen so determined? What would happen if he refused? And most importantly, how could he fight back without destroying the peace he loved? The anger was a spark, the beginning of a battle Michael hadn't planned for, but now felt he couldn't avoid. Michael's fight was only beginning, but it quickly became clear how lonely it would be. Despite his heartfelt protests and attempts to rally support, most of his neighbors kept their distance. Some were too afraid to get involved, worried about crossing Ellen and the powerful HOA board. Others remained silent, preferring to maintain their good standing rather than stand up for what was right. Michael couldn't blame them. Standing against the HOA felt like fighting a giant, and not everyone wanted to be caught in the crossfire. This silence stung deeply. Michael felt a growing sense of betrayal from the very community he had trusted. It was as if he had become an outcast, a target singled out for punishment, while others looked away. The isolation was crushing. Every day he faced Ellen's relentless demands alone. Determined to find a peaceful solution, Michael tried to negotiate. He wrote letters, attended HOA meetings, and spoke calmly with Ellen, explaining why the gate was more than just a fence. It was part of his home's character, yes, but more importantly, it was a barrier that kept his young children safe, protected his beloved dog, and gave his family peace of mind. He asked for understanding, for flexibility, for a chance to compromise. But Ellen refused to listen. Instead, her tone hardened. She threatened fines that could pile up month after month. Legal action loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon. Every warning chipped away at Michael's hope and confidence. Day by day, Michael watched as his freedom and property rights seemed to slip further away, crushed under the cold weight of bureaucracy and inflexible rules. It wasn't just a financial burden, though the mounting threats were alarming. It was a deep, personal wound. To have something so important to his family questioned and attacked felt like an assault on his dignity and the sanctuary he had built. Late at night, when the world was quiet, Michael would sit on his porch and feel the heavy weight of defeat settling in. The gate stood there, sturdy but vulnerable, a symbol of his struggle, and with every knock on his door, every letter, every threat, that symbol seemed to fade, replaced by a growing ache of frustration, loneliness, and helplessness. This was more than a dispute over a gate. It was a battle for respect, for family peace, and for the right to call his house a home. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the neighborhood settled into quiet, Michael found himself talking with Jack, a former neighbor known for his free spirit and rebellious streak. Jack had once faced down the very same HOA that now threatened Michael's peace. And unlike most, Jack had won. Sitting on Jack's porch, Michael listened intently as Jack shared his story. The long, exhausting battle, the moments of doubt, but most importantly, the victories that came from refusing to simply accept unfair demands. Jack's words were like a spark in the darkness, lighting a path Michael hadn't considered before. "Don't just submit to their rules," Jack advised with a knowing smile. "Play by your own. Find the cracks in their armor and use them. Stand firm, but be smart." For the first time since the conflict began, Michael realized he wasn't alone. There were ways to resist, ways to fight back without breaking the law or burning bridges. That conversation rekindled a hope inside him, a belief that maybe he could protect what was his. Armed with this new perspective, Michael returned home determined not to back down. Instead of removing the gate as Ellen demanded, he took a bold, unexpected step. He installed an additional lock on the gate, a lock only he controlled. Then, in a surprising twist, he sold the single key to that lock to Ellen herself. It was a move that flipped the entire situation on its head. Now Ellen was trapped, Without the key, she couldn't enforce her order or enter the property to remove the gate. The power balance shifted. The woman who had tried to control Michael's life was suddenly in a position where she had to rely on him, whether she liked it or not. For the first time in weeks, Michael felt the thrill of control returning to his hands. The game had changed. He wasn't just a victim of bureaucracy anymore. He was a player, one with the upper hand. This clever resistance wasn't just about the gate anymore. It was about reclaiming dignity, setting boundaries, and proving that sometimes the best defense is a smart, unexpected offense. After Michael's bold move, Ellen's reaction was swift and fierce. She stirred up the community, sparking controversy and outrage among those still loyal to her leadership. But when her attempts to intimidate Michael escalated into a lawsuit demanding the return of the key, the tide had already begun to turn. This time, Michael didn't stand alone. The neighbors who had once stayed silent started to speak up, tired of the unchecked power and fear Ellen wielded like a weapon. They saw in Michael's stand a reflection of their own frustrations, a beacon of hope that change was possible. With solid legal arguments and growing community support, Michael faced the courtroom with quiet confidence. The judge, recognizing the fairness in Michael's position and the overreach of the HOA's demands, ruled decisively in his favor. The gate would stay. It wasn't just a victory for Michael. It was a clear message that the era of unquestioned HOA authority was over. The elite power that had once ruled the neighborhood without challenge was finally put in check. Michael became more than a homeowner defending his property. He became a symbol of courage and resilience, inspiring others to stand up for their rights and refuse to be silenced by injustice. His story spread through the community like wildfire, reminding everyone that even one person, armed with determination and a clever plan, could change the course of events. Every time Michael looked at his gate, strong, secure, and unyielding, he felt a deep sense of pride. It wasn't just iron and locks. It was a testament to freedom earned through struggle, a symbol of battles fought and won, and a daily reminder that standing up for what's right is always worth it.